Welcome to SMEX Ed. Class is in session.
I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing the sexual conversations we have behind doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It is all normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back. We help them step into their confidence and express themselves sexually in this world unapologetically. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have a boatloads of audacity all up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit?
Hello, everybody. So I received a question in my Facebook DMs that said, "Hi, Amanda. I love all of your videos and helping women understand their bodies. One question I have is squirting the same thing as an orgasm? And also, do all women come when they have an orgasm?" So I've done a lot of episodes on squirting and female ejaculation and orgasms in general, but I kind of want to do this episode dedicated to all things coming for men and women, because there are other ways. Like when we think of men coming, we think of ejaculation. Yes, but there are other ways to stimulate that ejaculation that I want to be able to talk about, because we want to be inclusive for all of the men and women and the non-binary folks that are here listening to this podcast. So we're going to kind of go over all of it today. So let's start by talking about the 3 C's. And I've done an entire podcast episode about this before. It's been a while. The 3 C's are what I consider climaxing, coming, and creaming. These are the 3 C's that a female body is capable of producing, and it is all from the form of female pleasure. So climaxing is what I refer to as orgasms. These are your run-of-the-mill 12 different types of orgasms that the female body can have. And if you just heard that and you're like, wait, there are 12 types of orgasms that the female body can have, there absolutely fucking are. And I will list them in this episode, but obviously I cannot dive into each of them. However, if you do want to learn more about them, basically what they are, how to stimulate them, where they're located, I did a training for the SMEX Ed class of the month last month on the 12 different types of orgasms. It's a 52-minute long training. You can get that at smexed.com, and I'll link it in the show notes as well. So you can go down there and click on it and go listen to it. It's so good. It comes with slides. Anyway, so there are 12 different types of orgasms a female body can have. That's what I refer to as climaxing. Now we have creaming. Creaming is what I refer to as what is referred to as female ejaculation. And then I call coming, and this is my personal terminology. When I say, "Oh, well, I came," I'm referring to squirting, because I don't typically like to use the terminology squirting, although I do, because it is what it's best known for, and it's like the medical term. But the word squirt makes me feel like we are looking at women like fire hoses, and I don't know, it just doesn't resonate with me. So I'll typically use the word coming when I'm referring to squirting. Now, is female squirting considered an orgasm? Yes and no. So when you Google types of orgasms a woman can have, typically it does not come up. It will come up and it'll give you the list of the 12 types of orgasms that a woman can have. When you were talking about squirting and creaming, it typically is under its own umbrella term, which is considered female ejaculation. Are they all styles of orgasms? In my opinion, yes. Basically, they are all things that the female body can produce. However, they're just kind of categorized in 2 separate things. So when we look at the 12 styles of orgasms that a woman can have, I'm going to try to do this from top to bottom, and I always forget one, so bear with me. We have an oral orgasm, and I'm not talking about oral sex. I'm talking about like an orgasm through your mouth, through kissing. We have nipple orgasms. We have the clitoral orgasm. We have the U-spot orgasm. We have the A-spot orgasm. We have the G-spot / vaginal orgasm. We have the cervical orgasm. We have the anal orgasm. We have what's called a core gasm. We have blended O's. We have multiple O's. And then there's one, I always forget one. I always forget one. Let me think. Maybe it will come to me. No pun intended. As I'm doing, oh, sleep orgasms. There it is. See, sleep orgasms. So kind of let's go through the list because that's a lot of orgasms. Obviously, oral is through kissing. Nipples is through nipple stimulation. Clitoral stimulation. And what the word is stimulation is any type of arousal that you use in order to arouse. Any type of stimulation you use in order to arouse that area. So stimulation can be your fingers, it can be a vibrator, it can be your partner's tongue, it can be all of those things. So basically you want to stimulate these areas in order to create an orgasm, a climax. So nipples, obviously through nipple play. Clitoral is through clitoral play. U-spot is the urethra orgasm. Yes, the thing you pee through. The outside, it's an external orgasm. It's playing on the outside of it. The A-spot is the anterior fornix orgasm, which is from the anterior fornix erogenous zone. That's actually located about 4 to 6 inches inside of your vaginal canal. It's a very deep orgasm. It's sometimes referred to as the female prostate. Your G-spot, everyone has heard of G-spot before. Your cervical is obviously your cervix. Then you have anal, pretty self-explanatory. Now let's get into coregasm. Is an orgasm that is a exercise-induced orgasm that typically begins or stimulates like your core muscles. It happens through your stomach. People say it feels very different than a traditional orgasm. Then you have blended O's. Blended O's are when you stimulate 2 areas of the body at once. So if a guy or a girl or a person is going down on you and they are sucking on your clit and they are playing with your nipples, you will have a blended orgasm, which is you're being stimulated from those 2 areas and you're creating like a massive orgasm. Now that's different from multiple orgasms. Multiple orgasms are the style of orgasms where you have an orgasm and then you kind of come down. And you kind of like, I like to call it like the climactic hill, right? You go up the climactic hill, you come down, and then you go back up. So this can be, you are having penetrative sex and all of a sudden you have an orgasm, you have a few minutes, you calm down, then you have another one, and then vice versa. Like it just keeps going. Then we have sleep orgasms. Sleep orgasms are wet dreams, basically. You hear it when it refers to men. A lot of the time, like if they haven't quote unquote cleared the pipes in a while, they'll have a sex dream and then they will ejaculate within their sleep. Women have the same thing, but it typically produces a orgasm. It also is called a mind / fantasy orgasm. They sometimes use it interchangeably. So a mind and fantasy orgasm, the difference is you are awake during a mind and fantasy orgasm. So that's usually like you're closing your eyes, you're kind of producing this fantasy in your head. You're not really touching yourself. You just get so aroused from it. A sleep orgasm is an unconscious orgasm, meaning you are unconscious and your mind is creating a fantasy or something where then your body responds to it. And you typically wake up having an orgasm, or you have that orgasm and wake up, or you basically like you can feel a sleep orgasm. So those are the 12 different types of orgasms. Can every woman experience all of those 12? Depends. So what we've learned from the past is that about 20% of women cannot get off via penetrative sex. The reason this is, or the reason that some scientists say that this is because of the placement of the clit. Some people say if you have a higher, if you have a higher placed clit, you are less likely to have an orgasm via penetration. But once again, I don't know. I always think that studies are so skewed when it comes to female pleasure, and what the female body is capable of, because I think no one really knows, because it's just like it's this magical fucking thing that you can't really apply science to because it is so vast and changing and just fucking phenomenal. But about 20, less than 20% of women can have an orgasm via penetration. So if you cannot have an orgasm via penetration, it does stop some of, or prevent, that's a better word, prevent some of the orgasms that you can have in the list of 12. So which ones does it prevent? It's going to prevent a vaginal G spot. It's going to prevent typically an A spot, a cervical, and then that's it. Those are the three inside, right? I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but it will prevent possibly those three from happening because those three are required with vaginal penetration. However, you may be able to get off via penetration anally, so that's an option. You still have U-spot, clit, and all of the rest of them. So if you can't get off via penetration, it's okay. Or I should say penetration alone, because a lot of women can get off via penetration if they add clit stimulation or another style stimulation to it. So if you were struggling with penetrative orgasms, don't think it's the end of the world. Ask yourself, where can I add stimulation in order to create more arousal in my body? So a lot of times the best way to do it via penetrative sex is clit stimulation. The clit has 10,000 nerve endings. 10,000. That's so freaking much. And what you see in the clit, what pops out, is actually called the clitoral hood, which becomes erect, meaning it does enlarge the more aroused you get. So if you are having penetrative sex and it feels really, really good, but you can't get off, try adding clit stimulation. So how do you stimulate the clit? You use your hand. You use a toy. You rub it against anything. It is more just adding friction to that area to help increase arousal and get you off. So those are the 12 styles of orgasms. Now we talk about squirting and coming. They are considered female ejaculation, which is separate from female orgasms by basis and studies, right? So female ejaculation is an umbrella term that is used for creaming and squirting. But a lot of times if you Google the word squirting, it will say female ejaculation. They're two different things, but they're put underneath the umbrella term of female ejaculation. So female ejaculation is when a woman can cream, right? Some people refer to this as coming. So what this is a milky white substance that is ejaculated by a woman that looks like semen. A lot of people say it's ejaculated through the skin glands, which also it has PSAs and fructose in it, but it does look like semen. It's got that like milky white, creamy texture. A lot of times women don't recognize that they are actually creaming unless they record themselves, which I highly recommend for each and every single woman out there, just because it really lets you see what your body is capable of. They record themselves, or they're using a toy and they pull the toy out and there's cum on the toy or the cream on the toy, or their partner typically says something. How do you cum, or how do you sweat? How do you cream? There's no, I don't know how to say this. Like when we think about squirting and creaming and we think of the how to, we have to recognize that, one, according to studies, not every woman has the ability. So they typically say, studies are so fucking varied in these numbers. So you'll read some studies that say 5% of women or less can cream. You'll read others that will say 10 to 15. You'll read others that say 50%. It is all very confusing. So we'll use this huge ratio of between 5 and 50% of women can cream. Now, the women that I've spoken to who have the ability to cream have sometimes said it feels like a pressure that needs to be released. Some will say it feels like, if they can squirt, they'll say it feels like a squirting orgasm, or like they're about to squirt, but nothing comes out. Because they're creaming, and that's ejaculating. So to sit here and say like how to access this part of you, it's really going to vary depending on the person, because things like, think about it this way. The way I get off is not the way you get off, meaning I can sit here and say, okay, well, I can squirt via clit stimulation, and via penetration. And another woman can say, well, I can't squirt via penetration. I can only do it via clit stimulation. Like everybody's body is different. So it's hard to sit here and give you a how-to on it, on these things, because sometimes one, you might not have the ability. Number two, it feels different from everyone. And I know that that makes people very frustrated, because they do want to learn to achieve this type of pleasure. And I'm not going to say don't try it, but also just be realistic about it and don't make it mean anything about you if you don't have the ability. And I see videos all the time from companies that I do love and adore, that I work with, and that I have brand partnership deals with, that they will set out like a how to squirt video. And I'm just like, preface it that that people may not have the ability, because we don't want to make women feel any less than, right? If you don't have the ability, that's not your fault. It's just your body's capacity to handle pleasure means something a little different than the person next to you. It's not a competition on who can squirt the most or cream the most. And it's like, it's not any lack if you can't. It's just your body is capable of achieving something that someone else's body might not be able to. One woman may be able to have an anal orgasm and the other may not. One woman may be able to squirt and the other may not, right? It's all dependent on the person and the situation and the comfortability. There's a lot of factors that come into play with this. So just, I guess this whole big rant is like, don't feel like you're anything less than if you don't have the ability to cream and or squirt. Squirting is what's also called female ejaculation, but this is a clear, like, substance fluid that is excreted through your urethra. So the age-old question, is it pee? Jesus Christ, no. There is a trace amount of urine in squirting liquid, obviously. Basically, what happens is when you are sexually stimulated, your bladder fills up with liquid. Once again, it's not pee. Your sexual arousal happens, and typically women, and see, this is how it varies again. Women, you can squirt before an orgasm, during an orgasm, and after an orgasm. So just sit here and say, is squirting an orgasm? Yes and no, right? Because it can happen prior to an orgasm and it feels completely different than an orgasm. And so it's like, it gets excreted through the urethra during like sexual arousal. It is clear. So it doesn't smell like urine at all. The amount of liquid that a woman can squirt is, there's like, it varies a lot. It varies on her comfortability. It varies on whether or not she's squirted in the past. It varies on her, I don't know, whether she wants to or not in that moment, right? Because women definitely have the ability to, and they will stop themselves because of their own shame, or because honestly, they don't want to make a mess or something along those lines. And so some women do have the ability to, and will stop themselves from it. And it can happen post, pre, or during an orgasm. So those are the female style pleasure centers and pleasure orgasms that a woman can have. So yeah, so squirting is considered one and it's not considered one, and female ejaculation is considered one and it's not considered one. It's all kind of a big jumbled mess, but know that your body is capable of so much pleasure. That's what it comes down to, right? Your body is capable of so much freaking pleasure, and experiment with that pleasure and be okay with that pleasure. And if you can squirt and you can cream, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to feel embarrassed about. Like, I always think of it this way, and this is because we're brought up in a patriarchal society that definitely focuses on male pleasure and allows men to feel pleasure and shames women for pleasure. But if men had the ability to squirt, do you ever think they would stop and be like, I can't squirt right now? Every time a man has an orgasm, he ejaculates. Do you ever think a man stops and is like, I don't want to ejaculate right now because this might be embarrassing? No, they never in their life ever say, oh, I can't, like, I don't want to ejaculate. Speaking of ejaculation, I get the question a lot of, can some men not ejaculate and still have a valid sex life? Yes. And that's a whole other topic for another day, because that goes into like delayed ejaculation, which I do have an episode on, I think. about that's on here. If not, it's a training in my monthly membership, or it's on Smex Ed. I do so much, I can't remember where everything is. But it is a part that's considered delayed ejaculation. Think of it this way as well. If a man is having sex multiple times in one day and he can orgasm without coming, it's like you empty the tank. It happens, it's normal, it's okay. So let's discuss male orgasm. So obviously there's ejaculation, which is your typical ejaculation from whatever sex, from oral sex, from masturbation. Men ejaculate. The other style orgasms that men can have is one is called the perineum orgasm. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I never know if I am. So the perineum is something that I've been speaking about a lot on my platforms because it has to do with prostate play. So prostate play is anal play for men, and the reason it's called something different is because men have a prostate that is located in their anus. I think it's about 2 to 3 inches in there. It feels like a soft pebble, and it is basically an ejaculation button is like a way for you to put it. And so when you have a prostate orgasm, it is considered one of the most intense orgasms a man can have. And it's done through anal sex and anal play. Now, if you're a man and you want to experience a prostate orgasm, but you are uncomfortable with penetration at first, understandable. Let me just preface this by saying okay, so society has made penetration a female focused thing, meaning that if a man is penetrated, society has made it mean something about his masculinity and his sexuality. That is all bullshit, is what I just want to say for that. That is such bullshit. Penetration shouldn't be just a female focused thing. You are not effeminate if you get penetrated, and the fact that we even put that on women is utter fucking bullshit. But this is what happens when we're brought up in a patriarchal society that focuses on men and penetration. Penetration becomes the manly, masculine thing to do, and anybody who gets penetrated is considered effeminate, or as like the derogatory terms that get thrown around about people's sexuality. So if you have never experienced penetration as a man and you are considering prostate play, do not allow society to dictate what you want to do as far as pleasure. Do not let their constructs and their box become something that you allow to put yourself into, because it's unfair, right? We all go through conditioning, men, women, people, all of us. We all go through it on so many different levels, and we all need to be more understanding of each other with that as well, rather than pointing the finger of, well, men have it easier and women blah, blah, blah. It's everyone goes through the shit. We all do. So let's have an open mind about this. So if you're looking at experiencing prostate play, it means nothing about your masculinity or your sexuality. It just means you want to try to experience a whole new level of pleasure that you deserve to experience, because you do deserve to experience it. Everybody does. Now, if you are nervous about penetration, which even for women who are participating in anal sex, I always say you participate in anal play way before you participate in penetrative sex. So with anal play, it is more of experimenting with the external aspects of the anus when it comes to women. This is because the external part of the anus, it has a bunch of nerve endings in it. And typically I'll say use a finger or use a vibrator and just kind of like circle your anus. This is to get your body used to the sensation of something being back there and used to the sensation of just sensation back there. It's to get you comfortable. It's to get your body to relax, because if you have penetrative sex of the anus and you are not relaxed, you literally can't. Like your body and your sphincter will like go really, really tight because it is a muscle and it won't allow anything to come in. So you have to learn to relax with it. If you're a man and you want to experience a prostate style orgasm, but don't want to go internally into penetration, you could try what's called a perineum orgasm. I was researching this last night, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. So a perineum orgasm, the perineum is the spot of skin that connects the ball sack to the anus. Now, what this does is basically it's full of a bunch of nerve endings, and it is an external way of kind of putting pressure on the prostate. So what they say is to have you or your partner, right, take your fingers back there, the part of the skin, right, that connects your ass, your anus, and let me use the proper terms, your anus to your ball sack, and you just want to apply a little bit of pressure. You want to, they say, like at the beginning, like definitely masturbate while you're trying to do this, because if you can't orgasm via that penetration, it typically will cause a more intense orgasm if you are masturbating or receiving oral on that level. So play with it, right? Be able to put your fingers back there, apply a slight amount of pressure at first. The amount of pressure and the amount of sensation depends on the man. So if you put your finger there and you put like a massaging pressure, like try just putting pressure on it, try massaging it, try tickling it is another suggestion that they had. And if it feels good, keep going. If you feel like you need more, apply a little bit more pressure. And this is supposed to produce kind of a prostate style orgasm without having penetration. Now, if you're going into a penetrative anal sex, prostate play style orgasm, go to my SMEX Ed class of the month this month. I did an entire 28-minute training on anal play and how to work up to anal sex for everybody. And I go over prostate play in there. I go over anal play. I show you tools and give suggestions and do's and don'ts. It's for our VIP subscribers, which it's $1.99 a month. You get access to this next ed class of the month, which is one training a month dedicated to a sex topic. Go listen to that because that will tell you the exact steps you need to take, including the prep work you need to do in order to have penetrative anal sex. And it's super realistic. We go over everything. So go listen to that. It will be the best $1.99 you have spent in God knows how long. But once you watch that and you're ready for prostate play, the prostate orgasm, like I said, is located in the man's anus. So basically, you can use your fingers in a shit ton of lube, or you can use a toy. And basically, you insert it within the anus. You're going to search in a way for a soft kind of pebble-like feeling. Sometimes they say it's like the size of a walnut, and you're going to want to massage that. And massaging can be just kind of like gently stroking it. And that is supposed to produce a prostate orgasm for men, which tends to be the most intense orgasm that men can have. So men can have prostate orgasms literally just through prostate play without additional masturbation or sex. They say if you prostate milk, which is another term for it, while receiving oral or masturbating, it will create a even more intense orgasm. So experiment with that. Always be safe with it, whether you're doing it through solo play or with a partner. If your partner asks you to participate in prostate play and you are allowing society's dictations of sexuality and stuff make that mean something about them, I ask once again for you to rewind this about 10 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago and listen to that whole rant I went on about society, because why am I saying society so weird today about society? Because it's unfair, right? We should have an open mind for pleasure on so many levels. But yeah, those are the 12 styles of orgasms that women have. We've gone over squirting, we've gone over coming, and then we've gone over style of orgasms that men can have. Now, can men have nipple orgasms? Can men have oral orgasms? Probably. I mean, they say that it's for the female body, but I'm pretty sure that men have very sensitive nipples and they could probably get off via oral sex, not oral sex, I'm sorry, kissing. I think it depends on the man. So there's always a possibility that men can experience more orgasms than just the ones that I spoke about. But I hope I answered your question and I kind of encapsulated, sure, all things coming in this episode. As always, if you guys have any more additional questions, go ahead and find me on IG, Snapchat, Amanda King. Come follow me on Facebook. They're all linked in the show notes. Shoot me a question in the DMs. I choose a few questions each month to be able to get up on this platform and discuss. And if you guys have anything else, like You know someone who needs to hear this, share this. If you're listening to it, screenshot that you're listening to it and tag me. I always appreciate it. I love knowing that people are listening to this podcast and that it's helping them. So I love you all, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to Smex Ed with Amanda.
And some parting words for you today. Remember this: no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my beautiful people.